right, world. Today is another episode of 109 Cents, and we're going to tackle something controversial today, although you might not even know it's controversial. Some do. You know, we hear Ted Cruz, who's trying to be president, although he suspended his campaign. He likes to say we need to bring this country back to its Judeo-Christian roots. Well, is it really? You know, was the USA founded on Christianity? Did you know there's a lot of writings that prove that many of our founding fathers were not Christians? They were Deists, Deists. They believed the universe had a creator, nature's God, but that he does not concern himself with the daily lives of humans. And guess what? Our U.S. Constitution bears no mention of God or Christianity. Our founding fathers were free thinkers. They relied on reason, not their faith. Many did not believe in the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, all as one. And they wrote about that they did not. Yes, there were many Christians among our founding fathers, and none were atheists. But what of some of the key founding fathers? How about George Washington? We all know him, first president. He was a Freemason. He never took communion. Yes, he did go to church with his wife, but when she took communion, he waited outside of the sanctuary. In a 1792 letter to Edward Newham, he wrote, "Religious causes are always products of more acrimony and irreconcilable hatreds than those which spring from any other cause." Yes, he went to church. Heavy Christian? No. Christian at all? John Adams, second president. In a letter to Thomas Jefferson, he wrote, "Can a free government possibly exist with a Roman Catholic religion?" And he wrote, this would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it. Thomas Jefferson, third president. In a letter to Dr. Thomas Cooper, February 10th, 1814, Christianity neither is nor ever was a part of the common law. He felt that our civil rights have no dependence on our religious opinions, any more than our opinions in physics or geometry. It is written that Jefferson was called an atheist by Christian ministers of his day who tried to block his presidency. James Madison, fourth president, father of the Constitution. In 1803, he wrote a letter objecting the use of government land for churches. He wrote, "The purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from those shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe in blood for centuries." Yeah. Benjamin Franklin. He helped write both the Declaration of Independence and the American Constitution. He wrote, "Lighthouses are more helpful than churches." And he wrote, "The way to see by faith is to shut your eyes of reason." And in the affairs of the world, men are saved not by faith, but by the lack of it. Thomas Paine, called the firebrand of the American Revolution. He published a pamphlet on January 10th, 1776, Common Sense. Remember that? We learned about it in the school, which rallied the undecided delegates in the Continental Congress to declare independence. Well, later in the 1790s, he wrote The Age of Reason, in which he advocated deism. Yes, he was a deist. Promoted reason and free thought, and argued against institutionalized religion in general and Christian doctrine in particular. So, do any of them sound like heavy, strong Christians? No, I don't believe so. And Ted Cruz's proclaims of Judeo-Christianity that that our country was founded on, is not correct. Here's a book I wrote, We Make God Cry. It is about how us humans, Americans, and all over the world make God cry. Murders. A lot of our founding fathers did not believe that God controlled every aspect of our life. Well, I don't either. And I think that the the proof is all around us in the murders, in the rapes, and in the ways that we make God cry. It's on Amazon. You can buy it as a Kindle if you like. You can go to wemakegodcry.com and I will send you a PDF or the book. I consider myself a Christian. I'm a Methodist. But I also believe God does not concern himself with the daily lives of humans. When does he have time? And certainly not sporting events that people think that God decides the Super Bowl or the World Series. Give me a break. Okay, back to this. 109 cents. In a sermon that was reported in the newspapers, Minister Bird Wilson of Albany, New York, protested in October of 1831. Among all our presidents, from Washington downward, not one was a professor of religion, at least not of more than Unitarianism, and that was in 1831. We were on our 7th president. Unitarianism is you believe God is one entity, not the Trinity, not the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, just one entity, and that you believe Jesus is an actual Son of God, not God. Anyway, now you can find writings and you can read into and deduct whatever you like that yes, they are heavy Christians. Well, if they were, they weren't very strong. They weren't heavy Christians. They might have been Christians, some of them, but not heavy ones. As Ted Cruz and others want you to believe, they just weren't. You can research that yourself, and I certainly hope that you do. Okay, how about Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president? Was he a heavy Christian? He was not a founding father, but he certainly was important. Lincoln's first law partner, John T. Stuart, said of Lincoln, he was an avowed and open infidel and sometimes bordered on atheism. He went farther against Christian beliefs and doctrines and principles than any man I have ever heard. And Supreme Court Justice David Davis said, Lincoln had no faith in the Christian sense of the term. He had faith in laws, principles, causes, and effects. Very interesting. And I think our founding fathers were like that too. A lot of them. Now, these are just some of our founding fathers, as mentioned. Some were definite Christians. John Jay, who was elected to serve as delegate to the First and Second Continental Congresses and served as president of the Continental Congress. John Jay, through his writings, it has been proven he was a devout Christian. But, the four that I mentioned, the first four presidents, as a matter of fact, in their writings, it's pretty shady how Christian, how much of a Christian that they were. So, do your own research on that. Some of you might be hearing this for the first time. You're like, what? Everybody says that we're founded on Christianity. Well, that's not necessarily true. They did believe in God, but they did not believe that God was controlling the revolution and God was controlling this and that. They believed in that, yes, God did create it all. He was more of a nature God, but he did not concern himself with the daily lives of humans. And remember, our Constitution says nothing about God or Christianity. Ted Cruz sometimes makes me sick with his little preaching of how he wants to bring this country back to Christianity. Thank goodness that he suspended his campaign. I'm no Trump supporter either, but I think he would have been better, or it would be better than Cruz. Anyway, do your own research. I think it's an interesting topic. DEISTS. Yes, you can believe in God without believing that He controls everything. I don't even know when that turned over. I guess maybe Christians always thought that God controls everything, or some Christians. I'm a Christian. I don't believe it. I just don't. I think He's pretty busy, as is God, that He's not going to control every aspect of every life. He just doesn't. That would be like saying that He decides who's going to murder who, and God's not going to do that. Anyway, here is another episode of 109 Cents. I hope it was informative for you. Do your own research. Shoot me an email. I think you can answer to these things. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again on the next episode of 109 Cents. Goodbye.